Yesterday, we read about freedom and the heroic souls. Normally, when we think of freedom, we think of situations, circumstances, conditions. But yesterday, the mother reveals to us that freedom is not dependent on anything external. It is an inner state. One can be free in a prison, and one can be imprisoned in one's own consciousness even when all around there is a vast expanse of sky. Second, she reveals to us about the heroic souls. This is important because this inner freedom is spoken of in the Gita also. It's the Trigunatita Avastha. But the mother reveals to us still greater secret of souls that come carrying in themselves the fiery portion of her love. And they come primarily to battle against falsehood, death. They choose the bonds rather than trying to escape from it. And that's what we read yesterday. There is a very nice little passage of the mother which I wish to read before we continue further. She first speaks of what falsehood is, and she distinguishes it from lying. Lying is the sign of a weakness, and if persistent, it is the sign of crookedness. So that is one part. But falsehood is that which opposes God. It hates the divine presence or the divine work upon earth, which is very different from, of course, lying is bad, no doubt about it. But it's the sign normally of a vital weakness or crookedness. Then she goes on to say about this souls. When souls come upon earth by accepting the sorrows, miseries and troubles of the world, it is because they want to conquer falsehood and help in the victory of the truth. I call them heroic souls. For those who leave aside their mental, vital and physical and live only in the bliss, there is no struggle and pain. This is what has been the trend of traditional yoga, that leave these coatings, these layers, earth, mind, and enter into that beatific state. Mother uses the word misguided mysticism when she refers to this tendency. She says there is a part in us which is perfect, and by misguided mysticism, some withdraw into that part and declare the rest as a field of illusion or a play which cannot be changed, etc., etc. There is no struggle and pain in that bliss because their beings are untouched, undisturbed, and they remain as they are. But the souls who came upon earth to fight face to face with falsehood are the truly heroic souls. But what she says after this is wonderful. And the supreme love is there with them. So that is what they are given as a gift of grace. This is the power that these souls embody. They set a concrete example for the world. So this is what we read yesterday. And all this while, through all this, there is some change which is coming in death, because these are new things. Death doesn't know. Death is the past. It knows whatever has been. It doesn't know what yet can be. And she is revealing a greater truth. So death has a problem with that. It says, what greater truth? There is no greater truth. Or is there? It will speak like that. So we continue from there. Page 654. Immutable. Death's denial met her cry. However mighty, whatever thy secret name, uttered in hidden conclaves of the gods. There is a name which people know here, but there is a secret name which is there in the higher realms. I heard once this story about Nalnida. When he was in that state, he would suddenly use the word Satyogi, Satyogi, and when asked who is Satyogi, he said, that's my name in the higher regions. Now, interesting thing about mother is that even her name in the higher regions is the same. She gives this story where she goes into the higher and higher realms And finally, she finds the mantra of life. And her name is inscribed the same way. It's written in Sanskrit and it's for her. So, Theo wants that mantra, but she didn't give it to him. She says, I came and gave it to Sri Aurobindo and I forgot about it. So that's the beauty. So there is a name in the higher region. So Death says, maybe I don't know what your name is. I know only the one who is in front of me, Savitri. So he says that whatever your name, uttered in hidden conclaves of the gods, thy heart's ephemeral passion cannot break the iron rampart of accomplished things with which the great gods fence their camp in space. Look how the word accomplished. Many times we'll see Sri Aurobindo changing words in their sense, several places. Like accomplishment is normally something very positive. What is accomplished? Sri Aurobindo describes in the Life Divine what is accomplished and what is yet to accomplish. What we have accomplished is some peace, but in a life which is generally full of agitation. So what has been accomplished? Death. Not yet the conquest over it. So it says this is accomplished. Already God has decided this is how the world will be. People will be born and they will die. You don't come to change. Don't challenge the law. You may be great in the higher world of the gods. I have no issues about it. But here, this is what operates. It's like someone who is, let's say, this actually happened with Mr. Narayan Murthy. He was a believer in socialism and, once even in Bulgaria or Yugoslavia, he was captured. So he was caught and put in a prison. So he didn't know what to do. Finally, because that time India professed to be a socialist country, they took him in that cage, maybe almost 2 days, and then finally left him on some border and said, now you go away because you are an Indian, we are leaving you. Then it hit him that what this socialism is. It professes things, but basically deep inside, it is a worst kind of draconian way of life. So, they didn't care who you are. You may be anybody. It's the same way. You may be anyone. But as far as we are concerned, we have this law. So the same thing Death is saying. You may be somebody great in the God's view. But as far as I am concerned, this is my domain and this is the law. This is what Death is telling her. Whoever thou art behind thy human mask, even if thou art the mother of the worlds, and peggest thy claim upon the realms of chance, the cosmic law is greater than thy will. This is what we are hearing. Karma cannot change. So when mother said, my child, grace can completely annul karma. Many of these things of the mother are so revelatory. I mean, those who have studied, if we have not read in other literature, it looks like, wow, this is wonderful. But if you have read the other literatures, you see they say there are some karmas which just cannot be annulled. So when mother says grace can completely annul karma, it's something very new, which we may just casually glance through it, but it's a very new power that she has brought to earth. It's possible to completely change the law. But Death would not accept it because then there will be a great problem. By the law, he holds people together. If grace will completely annul karma, everybody will be like the gods. So he says, no, cosmic law is the ultimate. Here there is only cosmic law. Don't disturb my reign. Even God himself obeys the laws he made. So all the great gods who come, they also ultimately are bound by the law of karma, by the law of matter, by the physical laws. They also fall ill, they also go to a doctor, and that's what life is about. The law abides and never can it change. The person is a bubble on time's sea. So he says that the moment you assume a human body, assume a human personality, you are subject to time. Basically that. Outside that, he says, maybe, I don't care, but this is my domain and things cannot change. Now he is half-mockingly asking her, A forerunner of a greater truth to come, this soul, creator of its freer law, wanting a force behind on which it leans, a light above which none but thou hast seen, thou claimest the first fruits of truth's victory. It says, you are claiming to be a forerunner, and you say that your soul is free and greater than your law. He says, I have never heard of this. What is this truth on which you are leaning? I don't know of any such truth. There have been great sages. Are you saying something which even they have not spoken? Are you saying something which the great scriptures don't mention? What is it on which you are pegging your claim? Pegging is to hook your claim on some truth which you claim to see. That's how Sri Aurobindo, when he spoke of supermind, so many questions. Sir, is it there in the Vedas? Well, it is there. So why didn't they speak about it? Sri Aurobindo is humble, so he'll not say. Basically, they saw it from far. Like even when we stand on the ground, if you ask, is there a sun? Yes, there is a sun. Is there a moon? There is a moon. We have seen it. It's very different from actually landing on the moon and actually going to the sun. What Sri Aurobindo is trying is to bring the glory of the sun here. World of difference. Just seeing is, well, we all have seen. We can claim every day we see. Even some people with practice can probably see it with at least the rising and the setting sun. But that's not the end of the story. That's the beginning of the story. How to activate that power, how to make solar cells, how to bring it nearer, how to make our whole body and mind that can be charged by that power. This is the big difficulty. So they kept asking Sri Aurobindo, this is your supermind, your supermind. Never heard about this supermind. And so he had to keep saying that, look, there are others before me who have done things which, in their age people didn't know. They brought in new things. So this is how he went on. And even now we have people, I know one of the persons who had strangely written Sri Aurobindo's reader, books from Sri Aurobindo, writings from Sri Aurobindo, taking out. But in the preface mentions that supermind never came down, it is a myth created. See how deceptive things can be, how careful one has to be. So there is an entire angle of vision given to it. So supermind is all a dream. Even recently I read on one of the blog notes, oh, supermind and all is a far-off dream. Misquoting from Nalnida. What Nalnida is written is something, only a portion of it. Misquoting, oh, it's a dream. For now it is only Yama and Niyama. So I had to send back. When somebody asked me, I said, well, Nalnida has written a lot more. Please read in continuation and go right up to the end and ask the gentleman why he has not mentioned the rest. Why there is a deliberate taking off. Because there is a tendency in the human mind. These are all ways by which darkness enters into us and uses us. Even using Mother and Sri Aurobindo's words. Like sometimes when Sri Aurobindo speaks of in the future when the supermind comes. That's true, quite natural. But when the mother speaks of it, she speaks after 56. Her writings are very different. Because supermind has come and begun to manifest. So this is how one has to look at it. So he says, you are the only one who seems to be speaking about it. Nobody else has said. But what is truth, and who can find her form amid the specious images of sense? Now you see, he will speak our truth to negate the truth. So he will say, yes, everybody has their own angle of vision. It's like some people say Sri Aurobindo's philosophy vis-a-vis another philosophy. Now, it's like it is reduced to a thought. So that's what he's trying to do. Amid the crowding guesses of the mind and the dark ambiguities of a world peopled with the incertitudes of thought. He says, yes, I understand. Probably you have an opinion, like many people have an opinion. When death will speak in modern language, it will speak like that. You see, postmodernist thought has destroyed all these. These are all opinions, ways of looking. Sri Aurobindo has one way of looking. It's just a thought among many thoughts. Now you see how dangerous this can be. You are admitting and destroying it. It is a thought like many thoughts. What does it mean? It means it's another mental opinion. You can either accept it or you can discredit it. There is no sure way of actually experiencing or realizing it. But Sri Aurobindo doesn't stop with that. He says there is a yoga by which you can actually experience and actually see the changes, the transformative process which can take place. Now that part is left out. So it's only a thought, a system of philosophy. For where is truth? And when was her footfall heard? He goes on now, blabbering a little more. Amid the endless clamor of time's smart, and which is her voice amid the thousand cries that cross the listening brain and cheat the soul? He says, yes, yes, I know. It's like you have a stall of books. So you have one kind of philosophy books, next another books, another set, and then novels, and then, Osho, and third, fourth, fifth, something, then another. He says, yes, so-and-so says this, so-and-so says this, so-and-so says this. He says, which one is true? All of them claim to be true. How are you going to ascertain? What he misses is yoga. Truth, obviously in the mind you cannot. It is only by a revelation, gift of grace through the psychic window or by actually engaging in yoga. These are the four ways by which it can be revealed. But at the level of mind, this is what happens. Or is truth aught but a high starry name? Or a vague and splendid word by which man's thought sanctions and consecrates his nature's choice? Vague, starry name. Nobody ever heard, nobody ever said. So is it like that? Or is it truth by which you can sanction anything? All is God. So therefore, everything I can do under the name of everything is divine. So he says, are you referring to that? The heart's wish, donning knowledge as its robe, one of the commonest ways human beings deceive is, if mother wants, or second way, if this has happened, mother wants it. Everything is, whatever divine wants, everything is divine. It's a profound truth. And it is true. But it can be easily misunderstood and twisted. So you have to ask if everything is the expression of divine will. Actually, Mother has said, in volume 3, she says, if you take that everything that is happening is the divine will, then you may land up in the net of the hostiles. You have to understand it. There is a truth in it. But this will is not acting openly in the world. There is a truth which gets distorted through the layers. That she will reveal as she gives the greater truth. So if everything is happening according to divine will, then the plunders and the murders and the rapine, everything is part of the divine will. Now, she will reveal to us how exactly it works. Because there is a truth in it, but a truth that can easily be distorted into falsehood. When I turn it to personally, saying that, well, whatever is happening in my life is what the divine wants it to be. The heart's wish, donning knowledge as its robe, the cherished idea, elect among the elect, thought's favorite mid the children of half-light, who high-voiced crowd the playgrounds of the mind, or people its dormitories in infant sleep. That's another thing which Mother has repeatedly cautioned us, not to use her and Sri Aurobindo's quotes. We have this tendency to do it. It can be done only when one has read everything and knows the drift. Otherwise, sometimes half quotes. For example, people quote from Savitri. This very passage can be quoted. And below it, it can be written, Sri Aurobindo, Savitri. Now imagine, somebody reading it would say, yes, see, this is what Sri Aurobindo is saying. So, death is pointing out to her that I know this is what human beings call as truth. Many ideas, they are full of many ideas. So out of those, they select one of these ideas and one of these images, one of these opinions, one of these viewpoints, and they call it truth because it's convenient to them. They like to believe in this or that idea. And then he starts further pointing to something very interesting, which needs to be reconciled. Death digs an abyss. It constantly lives in duality. That's why the mind becomes such an easy instrument for the forces of darkness, because by nature it is divisive. So, all things hang here between God's yes and no. This we all know very well. The yes that sanctions the journey, and the no that seems to constantly resist and cancel the journey. Yes that makes us believe that yes, this is the yoga for me, and the no that constantly whispers, you are unfit, you are unfit, you are unfit. Yes, that always gives us those beautiful moments in which we feel Mother is right there, right here. And the no, which makes us feel, oh, she is very far. Maybe all those things that I experienced were imagination or dreams. So, all these things hang. Now, Savitri will answer to everything. I am resisting, as I said, the temptation. Two powers real, but to each other untrue. Two poles of existence, spirit and matter, the superconscient and the inconscient, the light, the bright and the dark side of reality. Two consort stars in the mooned night of mind that towards two opposite horizons gaze. And then he gives a very interesting image, the white head and black tail of the mystic drake. Drake is, of course, a duck, and in inner visions or inner experiences, when one experiences the soul, it can be seen as a flame. Sometimes its power is a flower. Sometimes as a newborn child, but a child can also refer to states of consciousness which are being born. But very often is a bird, swan or a duck. This is, so it's a mystic drake. But it says what kind of a drake this is? Its feet are in the ground, all dark, tainted with mire. That's true. There is a portion of the soul which is always moving up, but always finds itself caught up in the mire. This is the soul of man. Sri Aurobindo speaks of it. Like a tree on the sandy river beach, holding its topmost boughs to heaven, like fingers they cannot reach. This is the soul of man. His body and brain, hungry for earth, his heavenly flight detain. This is the mystic drake. Luminous head and dark tail. Then he gives another reverse example. The swift and the lame foot, wing strong, wing broken. In the Rig Vedas it is described as the swan with 2 feet, one on the ground, rooted firmly, and the other lifted up. If it would take away both, it would fly away. Of course, it explains everything actually in a way. So he says one lame foot, one good foot. One wing very strong and the other broken. Sustaining the body of the uncertain world, a great surreal dragon in the skies. Surreal dragon. Surreal, of course, is like a dream, and this dragon in the sky is a mythical creature. He's a dragon, he's a monster. But like gods, it can fly. It has wings. And it can spit fire. So the gods have to fight. This is there in many myths. So he says, takes the other image, that is flying. But basically it's a monster. The surreal dragon in the skies. Too dangerously thy high proud truth must live, entangled in matter's mortal littleness. He says, this is reality. This is mortality in which human beings are engaged. Very often we will hear it, those who especially have not gone into this yoga outside, they say, what is it? I don't see any specimen. They expect by specimen people who are, wearing a certain dress, speaking fluently on the Vedanta. They look alike yogis, not what is happening inside, because, nobody is aware of what's happening inside. So they are looking for those pictures, the mind is conditioned to that. When they come to ashram, they want to meet someone. So all of us are specimen in the making. Why should we be complete? The yoga will take its unfolding, but we know it is unfolding. That much we know. We know it within us. Is there something to show in the outermost nature? Not yet. We don't want to paint a picture outside and look alike. It's not a look-like yogis. It's being really, it's a deep engagement within oneself. And anyone who has walked even limpingly a few steps knows what's happening inside. So this is what he says, that I see only mortality. All in this world is true, yet all is false. Matter, is it true? Yes. Physics will say, no, it's a percept and concept. Actually, it is just charges in space, but don't speak about it. This is physics. Matter is true, but matter is not. It's a form of energy. Is energy true? Perhaps, but we don't know. That will be the honest answer. Is the soul true? Other pole. Mystic would say, yes, it is true. But somebody would say it's a hallucination, it's a dream, it's a malady of the mind. So all things here are true, yet all are false. In the mind, this is what we experience. Its thoughts into an eternal cipher run. Its deeds swell to time's rounded zero sum. Centuries of human effort. What have you ultimately achieved? So this is the way death will say. See, he also passed away. The Vedic age vanished. Ram Raj went away. And where is Shri Krishna? Harvard University has declared that Krishna never existed. The only flute we know of is Hari Prasad Chaurasia. Perhaps Hari is common. Are you referring to him? And then you say, no, I am talking of the authentic Krishna. Who is? Oh, that Krishna, no. That's a myth, a legend. This is how, it would say that they have all passed away. Where is it? Where is the sign? Its deeds swell in the end to a zero. It will not say that the colloquy on the battlefield, the Bhagavad Purana still liberates mankind. That's not what death will say. It doesn't even see that. Thus man at once is animal and God. It's a passage so beautiful. It's a present reality of man, not his ultimate truth. So man has, everybody has, as mother has put it in a very beautiful way, but a more complete way. Here he is saying, thus man at once is animal and God, a disparate enigma of God's make, unable to free the Godhead's form within, a being less than himself, yet something more, the aspiring animal, the frustrate God, yet neither beast nor deity, but man. So, mother has a very succinct way of putting it. She said, man has one leg in animality and the second in humanity, and yet he is a candidate for divinity. Look at the image. In one sentence he has summarized it. There is the animal past, one leg behind, which pulls him, sucks him back into the mire. There is the present. He is trying to stabilize his humanity. We are trying to become human, hopefully. And yet, where is he looking? My next step. Next step is divinity. So that's the nature of man. It's ascending. So, but death doesn't see things in an evolutionary perspective, which is understandable because death does not have a vision of the future. It cannot. If it has a vision of the future, it will be no more death, but eternal life. By its nature, it is the guardian of the past. So he says there is nothing. He's just a frustrated God. Probably he would say that yes, I know, I have read the Upanishad where it is written, all the gods entered the human body. But seldom I see, once in a while, a rare great deed, a noble act, even a noble feeling is so rare in human beings. So he says he's a frustrated God. Sri Aurobindo put it very interestingly. Look how, the same truth. Here he is giving a very negative picture, pessimistic, frustrated God. Sound very... Again, we heard Mother, Sri Aurobindo would say, man suffers. He is responding to Freud. Man suffers not only because he represses in him the subconscious, but much more because of the repression of the superconscious. That should be released. And that gives a clue. So what is the answer to life's problems? Release these gods within. How are they released? Sri Aurobindo gives a clue in the mother. She will liberate the godlike elements in you. So we have a whole yoga, and when they are released, everything comes into place. We are no more a frustrated God, and that's the future for us. But man, tied to the kind earth's labor, strives to exceed, climbing the stairs of God to higher things. So he says he's tied, he tries to climb, but he cannot. Objects are seemings, and none knows their truth. Ideas are guesses of an ignorant God. So this is the problem, that when we say Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, Sri Aurobindo's thought, system of philosophy vis-a-vis another philosophy, it is actually a disservice to both. Because his philosophy is born of a direct vision and realization. Unlike thought which plays with itself and touches something, it stretches itself. They are very different things. Truth has no home in earth's irrational breast. Yet without reason, life is a tangle of dreams. So he says, by reason probably, we can know truth. But human beings, do they really live their life by reason? It has no home. So according to death, reason is the only. Because reason it knows, reason is expressed, manifested, it doesn't know anything more. It says, but look, human beings, the home of truth is driven by everything that is irrational. But reason is poised above a dim abyss and stands at last upon a plank of doubt. He says that's what man can. But look, even reason is standing upon a plank which any time may give way. If it really looked below, it would say, oh my God, there is no real plank. I believed there was a plank. That is how reason is. So he says that the only thing in human beings, reason, but actually they are driven by irrational forces. Reason has no place. According to it, truth is that. So he says it has no place. But then, as we know, change is coming upon him. When divine is listening, there is also an action. So beautiful, death is given a long speech. And I imagine Divine Mother listening. But it's not just a witnessing, it's an action. So when we speak to Mother and tell her our problems, some people say, oh, Mother didn't answer. How do we know? This listening is an answer. People would write to Mother and they would get an answer. And one place Mother actually writes, my child, 3 days back, your soul came to me and I have already answered it. If you listen in your silence, you will get my answers. Because the letter came after 3 days. He says, now I am giving you in writing, but this is the answer I have already given to your soul. You have to discover it. So, death is speaking. Any of us, it's so true. Amrita would 1 hour speak to Sri Aurobindo, mostly in Tamil, with few words of English. Young lad, 15, 16, coming away from his school and throwing his basta. What a fortune, I sometimes wonder. What a fortune, just imagine. That leaving his bag, going to Sri Aurobindo and telling all that has happened and all the problems and issue. 15, 16-year-old lad, what he would be saying. This happened in my school, this problem, that, my home. And Sri Aurobindo would just listen. And he says, he puts it so beautifully with this sense of humor. He says, Sri Aurobindo knew very little Tamil and I knew very little English. So you can imagine what conversation was going on. For 1 year it continued. Mostly monologue. But it is an action. So we see now, as death is speaking to the Divine Mother, there is something happening because there is an interchange. The very presence is beginning to change him. So first he says, eternal truth lives not with mortal men. Or if she dwells within the immortal heart, show me the body of the living truth. Or draw for me the outline of her face, that I too may obey and worship her. So you see the change comes at the end. Some kind of an aspiration is coming up. Somewhere he is feeling maybe she is right. Maybe it's my last chance of change. Maybe I shouldn't, I should ask her. If you really know truth, can you show it to me? Can you draw the face of truth? So there is this aspect that I too want to worship her and obey her if I see. Then will I give thee back thy Satyavan. Now he is not outrightly saying it's impossible. He's saying maybe I'll give you. But show me the face of truth. Show me who is dwelling in your heart. Who is it who is challenging me like this? And then he comes back to his old self. But here are only facts and steel-bound law. This truth I know, that Satyavan is dead, and even thy sweetness cannot lure him back. Look here again. Death acknowledging sweetness? A cruel fellow. No place of sweetness in his life. If he becomes sweet, he can't do his job. It's his job description. He can't be sweet and yet be death. But he is feeling the touch of her sweetness. Something is happening inside this fellow. So he's saying that even I know you are very sweet, but don't try to, Satyavan is dead, he is gone. This is the law. No magic truth can bring the dead to life. No power of earth cancel the thing once done. No joy of the heart can last surviving death. No bliss persuade the past to live again. He knows all things that pass away. Because that's its domain. He says, I know by experience. Nothing remains forever. Everything is transient. This alone is true. There is no eternal. There is no eternity. So it says that this much I know, that everything comes and passes away. Again, a truth, but not the only truth. And then he gives her a word of advice. He has to always pose as someone wise. Unwanted advice, unasked for advice is always given by fools. So, because, she's not asked him that please tell me what I should do. She is telling him what you should do. But he is giving her a free advice. Free advices are very dangerous. So he gives her a free advice. But life alone can solace the mute void and fill with thought the emptiness of time. Leave then thy dead, O Savitri, and live. So he's giving her advice. Time will fill all the void. Only life as it is, my domain, you will get nothing. I can't give. I have no choice. Even God is bound by the law. You go back. And over a period of time, life will fill your void till whatever time you have with you. So go back. This is the advice he gives. But Savitri is made of a different metal altogether. She has come to change the law. This obstinacy, this persistence, in those 12 qualities of the mother, one of them is perseverance. And it's so important, in this yoga. So often actually in anything, in life also, Sri Aurobindo says that in synthesis, to get success either in worldly pursuits or in yoga, ultimately it comes to the most persevering. That's why Mother says that persevere and thou shalt have the victory. How long? Perseverance doesn't know any end. So that is one lesson the crow teaches every day. How many times you shoo him away, he will fly, but his eyes are on that little dana. If you turn away, he'll come again. Now you play a game, ultimately you will lose the game. You have to take away that thing. Then he will go elsewhere. Otherwise, if you keep it there, you can't. How long you will keep on, showing him? He will come. In desert, we had to make all those, prison like, jalis, because crows will come. In nursing home also, some places we had to do that, close the windows, because you can't fight with a crow. He is more persevering. So every creature teaches us something. The woman, see again the woman, again everywhere, tribute to woman. The woman answered to the mighty shade, and as she spoke, mortality disappeared. This is something so wonderful. Death has forgotten that there is death. It literally means that. For a while, it's a long passage, which actually will not be able to finish even probably by tomorrow. It will continue in the next. So, as she begins to now reveal now what is going to come, and of course, death will give out a last cry. Now, what she is going to speak is the penultimate, a great revelation. Mortality disappeared. Her goddess self grew visible in her eyes. So he has asked, show me. So she is showing something to him in her eyes. Light came, a dream of heaven into her face. So he has asked, show me her face. So she is giving him now a glimpse. Ultimately, she will show the completeness, but this is just a glimpse. O death, thou too art God, and yet not He. Sri Krishna says that in the Gita. I am time the destroyer. I am death. These are the words of Sri Krishna. But the problem is when we think I alone, that's where the problem is. All is the divine. So she says, you are also He. The problem is you think you alone are He. Like sometime when we may think ignorantly, I alone am mother's favorite child. She loves me so much. How do we know? She loves even the lizard and the worm to be everything she loves. Her love is not confined to us, our heart. Or sometimes we may get into this elitist mode. I am doing this yoga. Someone special. We don't know she is doing the yoga. She will one day then teach it. You are doing the yoga. Okay, fine. I'll show you. You try with your own efforts. So this is where she reveals to death. Because death is thinking he is God. He is saying, yes, I agree you are God. Yet you are not He. Because God is much greater. Many things besides. He is also life. He is also that which is beyond death and life. He is what human thought can conceive, and He is beyond all that human thought can ever conceive. He is beyond imagination, and yet He can come within the realm of imagination. Now she is revealing a great truth of oneness. And we'll see that in the Gita it is revealed in a certain way, but how Sri Aurobindo reveals and gives it a new turn and a new approach. What yet is going to come. Thou art yet not He, but only His own black shadow on His path. He has created the shadow. He has hidden Himself. So in that sense, yes, God is hiding inside you also. And why has He cast the shadow? It will come. As leaving the night, He takes the upward way and drags with Him its clinging inconscient force. So whatever He came, see this is what happens. When the avatar comes, he upsets the law of the previous avatar, which a previous avatar has established. We see the whole evolutionary progression. Now you see Parshurama and Rama. What did Parshurama do? He destroyed Kshatriyas 21 times. Because he said they are all proud fellows. They are dangerous for earth. They should not be. What does Rama do? He comes as a Kshatriya. He says, okay, come, So there is a time when Parshuram and Rama confront with each other. But Rama has brought a different law. He is not just the Rajas kinetic man, the high Kshatriya type. Rama brings the tempering of the Sattva into Rajas. He comes with an illumined mentality which would temper Rajas. So Parshuram and Rama have a confrontation. And ultimately, Parshurama is his nature. I'll finish Kshatriyas. So he says, you're talking too much, his brother. He says, maybe I'll forgive you, but your brother, he is not a good guy. He's all the time challenging me. I'm going to finish him. When he says, I'm going to finish him, that's the time when Rama speaks. And he tells Parshuramji, don't do this mistake. Don't challenge us. We are not ordinary Kshatriyas. We are Chandravanshi Kshatriyas from the Ikshvaku clan. If death challenges us, we'll take the challenge, and I promise you we'll beat him. That's when suddenly he sees who can speak these words, but one who has gone beyond death, and he has a vision of the divine, and he offers his pursue, and he says, now onwards take away this age. Now you see this confrontation of two avatars. See the law established by Rama, an ideal ethic, an ideal moral, ethical man. What does Sri Krishna do? Overtops it. Because he comes to take one step further. And ultimately what Sri Aurobindo does goes still further. Doesn't stop with mukti, but bringing down something else. So this is the evolutionary progression. And so that which was relevant and valid in the past has become invalid today. It does not mean Krishna and Rama are invalid, but one has to understand their place in the evolution of mankind. So everything has its place, had its place. And to take a modern example, which is very interesting, you see, people do street fight. It's not a good thing. It's very ugly besides, very crude. Quarreling for ego. But there has to be a place where human beings' fighting instincts have to be, also must get a place. In its right place is all right. So that is WWF. Go, punch each other to your heart's content. You will get paid, and paid to get beaten, and people will get paid, etc., etc. And there is a place for it. Do it there. But if you want to evolve further, take the inner wrestle. Fight with the ego. So this is how the evolution takes place. So it starts with something, and in time as we progress, it begins to drag. So when we start engaging with the inner fight, the fighting instinct of external fight comes back again. And there is a tendency to once again get into fighting and quarrel, because that's how we have been up till now. That is our past. And that becomes shadow. So what was valid, in time God moves forward and it clings to us. So he's saying, what is death? Actually, what is death? Death is the past. All that has happened so far is death. So it has belief in the past and no belief in the future. And drags with him its clinging inconscient force. Of God unconscious, thou art the dark head. It's reversed. You do not know. You are not conscious. And still God is within you. And He is using even you. That also she'll reveal. So you of God unconscious, thou art the dark head. You only know the surface. You don't know there is God inside you. That's how the mother would, and this is the simple way, even in psychology and otherwise, we often say we have to change people. So how do we try to change? Pointing out defects and criticizing them. So what happens? Either forcibly people will suppress it, not show you. Or they will start telling lies. Or they will become resistant. Or they will end up fulfilling this role. Oh, you said I am a bad boy, I'll prove to you that I am a bad boy. But what is mother's ways? She says, I always look upward towards light. What she would say? Oh, you are such a beautiful being. Not by way of flattery. Because everybody has a beautiful being and she can see it. And by constantly reminding it that thou art that, we end up helping humanity rise upward. So she is saying, death you do not know, but actually, God is right inside you also. That mother describes in one of her experiences when the Tantric Swami comes and he says, I will do a puja and encircle the Titans, because there were some kind of Tantrics trying to harm mother. He said, I'll encircle all of them. So mother laughed. She said, it doesn't work. After some time, they will get free, become more notorious. So what is to be done? She says, even there, even in them, I see that divine love in the core. And I am going to bring it out. So that is her way. So she is telling death, look, thou also art God. You do not know the Godhead within you. And only on the facade and front you are dark. With these few lines, we will stop, few more lines. Of his ignorance, thou art the impertinent sign. Impenitent sign. No. You are holding on to the ignorance. You are not willing to give up. So you are holding on, impediment sign of his ignorance. Of its vast tenebrous womb, the natural child, on his immortality, the sinister bar. But why this bar is there, and what for, what purpose it serves, we will come back after a 8-minute break and read further. Why he has allowed this contrary.